Henry and Rachel Campos Duffin. Nothing will stop you.
No, we're unstoppable.
All morning long.
Great to see you both.
Great to see you guys.
So good to be
awesome
here.
To be here. It's 7 o'clock on the island of Manhattan. The rest of America is just waking up. Stay in bed, folks. Just watch us. Hang out with us. No need to get up.
The president promised we'd get tired of winning. And you know what? He had a big victory overnight. He did.
We are not tired of winning. And that is where our Fox News alert comes from this morning. A major victory on Capitol Hill for President Trump and the GOP overnight. The Senate narrowly passing the most sweeping changes to our tax code in a generation.
The key vote finally coming just before 2 a.m. this morning.
Ellison Barber is live in Washington to break down the bill. Ellison.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, it was a big victory, but it's not over just yet. The House and Senate have now approved two different bills. Before this makes it to President Trump's desk, they need to come together and make an agreement on the bills, merge the two of them. That, of course, starts when they go to conference. The House is expected to vote to go to conference Monday night. So here are some changes to the Senate bill. One is keeping the alternative minimum tax to provide more revenue. Another, allowing property tax deductions up to $10,000, and then keeping the medical expense deduction for the next 2 years. Republicans passed this with 51 votes. Many of those changes were last minute and meant to convince holdouts like Maine Senator Susan Collins. Vice President Pence seemingly convinced Arizona Senator Jeff Flake with promises related to immigration.
I've been saying unless we can get started on immigration reform, and that starts with DACA. That's the should be the easy part. And so I've been talking about that to the Vice President quite a bit and others, and got a good commitment to work on DACA quickly.
Some of the changes were handwritten in the margins of the bill, adding to the frustrations of Democrats. Ultimately, every Democrat voted no.
As we've said over and over and over again, the $1.5 trillion deficit, only to be filled, only requires us to grow 0.4% over the next 10 years.
This bill is so slanted towards the wealthy and powerful and rains tax increases upon millions of middle-class citizens.
Only one Republican senator voted against this bill, Tennessee's Bob Corker. He had concerns over the impact to the national debt. Pete, Ed, Rachel.
All right. Ellison, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ellison. Appreciate it.
Well, one step closer, as you heard, to giving American families an amazing Christmas gift, because the president has been talking about this, and a lot of naysayers in the media are saying they're not going to get this done. Republicans are going to be empty-handed heading into the midterm elections.
Except these Republicans knew that their butts were on the line if they didn't do it. So that always gets them going.
That's right. And the president tweeted about this tax vote last night about 2 a.m. He was up. Were you? Well, I wasn't, but now we're bringing it to you. We are one step closer to delivering massive tax cuts for American families across America. Special thanks to Mitch McConnell and Chairman Orrin Hatch for shepherding our bill through the Senate. Look forward to signing a final bill before Christmas. So, I mean, we cannot understate the importance of this passage. Listen, it has to go to conference. They have to pass another bill for it to be law. But the Senate has been in its own way for a long time. As the president says, little Bob Corker still voted against it.
Yes.
Don't know why.
Senator
Bob Corker did not vote for it. A purported conservative, not voting for tax cuts. So he's got his own impediments. But they passed it. And to get it into law could be a huge boost for the economy.
Well, and you know what caught my eye is Maria Bartiromo was interviewing the chairman of UBS for this weekend's Wall Street Week. And even before the tax cuts passed, he talked about how this economy is coming back strong. Watch.
I think the economy is clearly coming out of crisis mode. There is more optimism. Governments that come in recently are not anymore impressed by the crisis. They're looking forward to change their economies. And the economy is doing the best it ever has over the last 10 years. This has been the first IMF meeting I attended where the IMF did not revise down their growth forecast, but revised it up. So we're in the good part of the cycle. The good times are now.
The good times are now, and that was before the tax cut passed.
That's right. You can expect, if this passes, and we still have to go to conference, it still has to go to the president's desk. But if this passes, we've already seen an economy on overdrive. I think it's going to be even more. And I think the president comes to this with a lot of credibility. I mean, he has done a lot of things on his own to get the economy where it is right now.
On regulation. He's been a pro-business president. If you have a pro-business policy that ultimately incentivizes companies to stay here or not leave,
on social media,
it could have a game-changing effect.
On social media, people are asking a lot of questions. What's actually in the latest version? You heard Ellison saying they were writing in the margins. They were making changes right before the vote. So not everybody knows. We have a CPA who's breaking it down for you every hour this morning. Friends at foxnews.com. What is your specific question? We will get the answers from him.
Ed's been like, this is what I make every year. Tell me how much I'm going to save. And they're like, Ed, it's not about you. It's about the viewers.
Don't I get more for being here with you?
What?
They should pay me a bonus for being with you.
You have to deal with it. It's called a Pete bonus.
All right,
not
but you know what?
has to deal
Big
with
tax cut? And what is on the front page?
That's
all
right.
across America. Not the tax cut.
What's on the front page, Ed?
It's Russia, Russia,
Of
Russia.
course, yep. The failing New York Times with a big old photo. Flynn pleads guilty, will aid inquiry.
Do you think they did this on purpose? Like they did this plea, have him plead guilty specifically on this day to kind of cover up the tax?
You know what?
Win?
Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just saying the so-called mainstream media, which is not mainstream at all, they're all left-wingers. They love this headline because it distracts against it. And look at that. That's perfect.
Yeah,
Russia. And when will Russia end?
It won't.
Is Russia here? Are you Russian?
No, let's ask Russia Limbaugh.
Okay.
Here's what he said.
So there you have it. They're all excited. Mueller did the deed on the right day. Mueller did the deed to sweep the tax cut deal off the table and to tick everybody off. This is, in Jonathan Martin's opinion, the swamp banding together, the establishment coordinating its efforts to continue to destroy Trump and muddy the waters. The tax bill is going to pass. As far as McConnell and Ryan are concerned, none of this today is a legal problem. It's a bit of a political problem, but it doesn't present any legal problems to them or their tax bill. The tax bill is going to pass. But I don't have any doubt that the timing of this thing today may not be coincidental. Because look at all of the news that it swept off the front pages, and look at what it put back on the front page. Trump colluded with the Russians to steal the election from Hillary.
So what, Ed, so what of the news we have today proves that, as Rush said, that Trump colluded with the Russians?
Where I'm with you is that there's no new evidence of collusion, and that's where this started.
Nothing.
And so I agree with you that this sort of grand conspiracy pushed by Democrats is not there yet. Where I will differ with you and where I think you should open your eyes a bit, okay, with all due respect.
They're open.
Okay. The one-time national security advisor, I get he was there for like a week and a half, but he was inside the White House, not just the campaign, like Manafort.
But
hot
after
minute,
the election,
gone from the campaign. But after the election, he's in the White House. He's in the Oval Office of the president. He's briefing him on the most sensitive national security matters, and he lied to the FBI. That is a federal crime. Now,
of course,
it doesn't prove collusion, but it raises some real questions about what Michael Flynn was hiding. You would agree?
Yeah, but sure. But it was after the election. If anyone asked him to reach out to the Russians, that would be a reasonable request from the National Security Advisor. And
so tell the FBI this is a reasonable request.
So after the fact, listen, the guy's like feeling defensive, not telling the truth. It's a crime.
Right.
It is what it is. But it doesn't prove anything. So if you turn the channel, you're going to watch people trying to this dot to Russia. Don't change it because they'll be all Russia, Russia, Russia. It's like the headlines of all our papers this morning. It proves nothing, but people are going to go spastic about it.
Right. Well, we already knew that Flynn had a shady sort of past. I mean, his relationship with the government of Turkey, and
yes.
I'm surprised he wasn't charged on that, by the way. But
well, he made a deal.
Yeah, but I will say that's correct. But I will say this: I think Russia presents some problems for the Democrats because the more they focus on Russia, the less they're focusing on Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and really figuring out, and really doing some soul searching to figure out why they lost the election. They did not lose the election because of Russia. They lost the election for a bunch of other reasons, including immigration, including the economy, jobs, all kinds of things. And I think this is sort of continuing the neurosis there.
What you're admitting, though, is that the so-called mainstream media is in cahoots with the Democrats for a narrative that may benefit the Democrats,
here's where I'll agree
it
with
doesn't
you,
benefit them
Here's where I'll
at all.
shock you and agree with you, which is that, interestingly, by lying to the FBI, Michael Flynn now hurts himself as a witness against potentially President Trump or anyone in the White House. Because if Robert Mueller comes forward and says, Michael Flynn is cooperating and saying that Donald Trump told him to do this, well, you know what? Michael Flynn lied to the FBI, committed crime. So when do we believe him? It actually hurts him as a witness if he turns against the White House. So that will be interesting.
You're right. He's in a tough spot. He's made a deal, clearly. But nothing he's said, or I think will say, will indict this White House.
Listen, there's been so many leaks. If there was something on Trump, I am absolutely convinced we would have known by now.
Yep. All right. The failing New York Times would have it on the top of their paper, but they don't. They did the best they could.
So much news this morning, and the Kate Steinle case is still front and center, too.
One of them, you're right. Coming up, in the Kate Steinle case, one revered... One reverend. Is that a reverend?
He's a revered reverend.
He's a revered
Suggests
reverend.
we should turn the other cheek on sanctuary cities. Listen.
I pay my taxes as a citizen to my local government to protect local taxpayers, and those taxpayers include undocumented Americans.
Don't tell that to our next guest, whose son was killed by an illegal immigrant.
Heartbreaking. And it's a story we've been following for years. Jesse Ventura's lawsuit against the widow, a lawsuit against the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle and his estate this morning. We have a brand new update, and it's big.
We are back with a Fox News alert. The DOJ putting out an arrest warrant for this man, Jose Inez Garcia Zarate, the illegal immigrant who was deported 5 times and acquitted this week in the Kate Steinle case.
This hitting close to home for our next guest, whose 17-year-old son was killed by an illegal immigrant in Los Angeles in 2008.
Jamil Shaw Sr. joins us now with his reaction. Jamil, so your reaction to this verdict, for a lot of people, it's academic. For you, it's personal.
Yeah.
What was your reaction?
It was, I expected it. I remember telling people, he's going to walk. They're going to, they're going to make him a sacrificial lamb, so to speak. He's going to be the one that so-called takes down Trump. That's all they cared about. So I figured it. I talked about it on my show. I wasn't surprised. When I heard about it, I was driving down the street. I heard it on the radio. I just figured that was, was going to happen. But still, that, it pissed me off, though. It's not like I was no big deal. It pissed me off how they don't care about us. And this guy, piece of garbage, they act like he's just so innocent, and Kate Steinle's family is mourning forever.
Jamil, tell us a little bit more about your son.
He was a good kid, he was doing everything he was supposed to do. When he was 5 years old, I started working with him in sports. I was determined to get him a scholarship. We played baseball, basketball, football, 2 baseball seasons a year, winter, summer, 2 basketball seasons, played football, ran track. We were playing golf. I was trying everything. I just was determined that I had to get him to college. And, I had to get him to the promised land. 18 was my goal. I got him to 17 in 2 months.
It's such a tragic...
And to see him just all that hard work. Yeah,
it's such a tragic story. And there's so many other families. I mean, this is what we're learning about. Let's take a look at, I want you to take a look at this clip from last night from Reverend Ryan Eller, the executive director of Define American. Let's take a look at this clip.
I think where we start getting into really troubled waters is when we, talk more about sanctuary cities and relationships between local governments and federal governments, and somehow make this more about immigrants and immigration as opposed to this really tragic and unfortunate case. In Leviticus, it says, treat the immigrant as a citizen among you. I pay my taxes as a citizen to my...
Of course it does, and he knows that. That's why he's running, talking that mumbo jumbo. Just because he has on his collar, he thinks that he's an expert. They always want you to walk a mile in their shoes. Why don't they walk a mile in our shoes? How about he gets in a casket, we'll bury him for a while so he could see what it feels like to be dead, He think it's all good that we're so, I don't care about illegal aliens, My son was murdered. He was walking down the street in America. He actually thought he could do that, and he was wrong. He was shot dead by an illegal alien on his third gun charge. And then we hear people like that want us to turn the other cheek. I mean, why do we have laws? You got illegal aliens in the gangs on their third gun charge, you know, and then we're supposed to just be okay with our family members being dead? You know, why don't he jump in the casket, see what it feel like?
Incredibly powerful. You're saying so much of this is also resistance to Trump.
Oh, yeah, that was the main thing, you know. I mean, the people down there and the jury, they were all activists, you know, left-wing nut jobs, you know. You got the prosecutors. They did us the same way, Pete, when we were in L.A. Did the same thing, but I wouldn't go for it. We had to get rid of 2 prosecutors. We had to change judges. I had to pretty much say, I'll burn the city down if you guys don't try to do that. They did the exact same thing with Kate Steinle, but they couldn't get away with it because the district attorney was a conservative.
And you did get a death penalty for him. Jamil, your story is powerful. We're so grateful that you're telling it. It's such an important time. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Keep up the good work.
Now, First Lady Melania Trump, the target of sickening attacks over the White House Christmas decorations.
Yep, of course.
Take a look at this. Comparing it to a horror movie. Would they have done that if she was a Democrat?
And we all remember this commercial saying chicken soup helps fight off a cold, but